Washington is fundamentally corrupt. There are more words in the IRS code than there are in the Bible. And not a one of them is as good. My simple flat tax says that for a family of four, for the first $36,000 you earn, you pay no taxes whatsoever. Above that, every American pays 10% across the board, a flat, fair tax, which means that no longer do you have hedge fund billionaires paying a lower tax rate than their secretaries. This plan eliminates the payroll tax, eliminates the death tax, eliminates the corporate income tax, and it abolishes the IRS.
All right, that was Senator Ted Cruz during last night's GOP debate, vowing to eliminate the IRS as part of his comprehensive tax plan. By the way, I think we now know after these last two debates, you were the national champion from Harvard in debating. I think these two debates have been very good for you, Senator. Let me give you an opportunity because so many Americans are suffering. Nearly 95 million Americans out of the labor force, 46 million Americans on food stamps, 50 million in poverty, median income down, health care costs going up. Really, really hard times. So I want to give you the time now to explain this plan so people understand it.
Well, my simple flat tax is exactly what it says. It's a flat tax of 10% for everybody. And what it would produce is incredible economic growth. The Nonpartisan Tax Foundation estimates that this would produce 4.9 million new jobs, that this would increase capital investment, things like new factories, by 44%, and that the after-tax income of every single income group in America would go up by double digits, at least 14%. Now, what does that mean? That means if you're a single mom, if you're working making $40,000 a year, that's about an extra $5,000 in cash in your pocket to feed your kids, to help make ends meet. And what's critical, you know, you look at young people coming out of school right now, and they're scared, they're demoralized, they've got student loans up to their eyeballs, they don't know if they're going to get a job. Tax reform is an incredibly potent tool to produce economic growth and to get back. The last time we faced this kind of stagnancy was under Jimmy Carter in the 1970s. And what did Reagan do? He came in with a massive tax reform plan, and it prompted incredible economic growth.
Let me ask you, because John Kasich will be on later, and he seemed to, it didn't mention you by name, so I don't know if he was talking about you, but he seemed to be making the case that these are not revenue neutral, that some of these promises that some of the candidates are making and are sort of pie in the sky. Explain the revenue side of this coming into the government and how is it revenue neutral, et cetera.
Right. So the revenue side of this, and all of the numbers are on our website at tedcruz.org. So if you want to go look at the numbers, you can look at all of the numbers. It's tedcruz.org. Over 10 years, federal tax revenue on a static basis, which is not counting for growth, it would cost roughly $3.6 trillion. On a dynamic basis, because that actually counts what happens in counting growth, it would cost roughly $768 billion, less than $1 trillion. Interestingly enough, my plan, the simple flat tax, not only has among the least revenue impacts of anyone's plan on that stage, but it also produces more jobs and growth than just about anyone. And most of the others are fiddling around the edges. We need to move towards every American filling out their taxes on a postcard, and we need to abolish the IRS. It is corrupt, it is targeting American citizens, and it's time to get rid of it. And Sean, we can get that done.
If we were to do that, take in the repatriated money from multinational corporations that keep it offshore because they're going to be taxed so heavily, if you add in the energy independence quotient to all of this, and if we made America the corporate tax haven of the world, I keep making these points. What is the growth potential? Because I'd like to see all those Americans out of poverty, off of food stamps, and back to work.
The growth potential is immense. Since 2008, we have averaged 1.2% growth a year. It is anemic. Historically, America's averaged 3.3% growth a year. I believe we can get back to 5% growth a year. You know, JFK had 5% growth because he did what? He did tax reform and regulatory reform. These are the policies that work. And, Sean, let me focus on one aspect of my simple flat tax that I think is particularly powerful. It is 10% for individuals and a 16% business flat tax that applies to everyone. That means giant corporations no longer pay 0% while small businesses get hammered. Everyone pays the same fair rate. But one of the really powerful aspects of it is that it is border adjustable, which means if you're a farmer, if you're a rancher, if you work in manufacturing producing goods for exports, you pay 0%. You don't pay that 16% tax because all exports are tax-free. That gives our farmers and ranchers and manufacturers an enormous advantage. And on the flip side, every import that comes in from any country across the world gets that 16% tax applied to it. What that does, by the way, right now, Europe does that to us.
Yep.
When we export to them, they put their taxes on our goods, but we don't do it back. I think we need to be on a level playing field. And one of the sharpest divides last night was a number of Republicans who are willing to stand with the lobbyists in Washington, willing to stand with the cronyist. I think we should be standing with working men and women. It's one of the reasons, for example, there are several Republicans who support and are embracing TPA and TPP. I don't think we should be giving in to Obama's plan to undermine U.S. sovereignty, to undermine our immigration laws, and to hurt working men and women.
Who can read that? Yeah! All right, Senator, good to see you, and our very best. Thank you for being with us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Sean. God bless. And let me give you the welcome from the folks here at the Kingston VFW in New Hampshire. They love you, Sean.
Thank you, Senator. I appreciate it.